We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I am here today with Dan Weisfield of Three Pillar Communities. Dan, how are you?
Doing well, Casey. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome, man. I know he and I just sit here and kicked conversation for 30 minutes about capital raising and mobile home parks and masterminds and basically anything and everything you could think of. We've covered it all, and you'll be glad to know we solved all the world's problems while we were at it. So don't expect there to be any more problems when you go out today, right, Dan?
I'm glad we figured out the monkeypox vaccine. That was
there. You go.
That was our
that's
biggest
it.
accomplishment in the last.
That's
hour.
it. That's our what we're giving to humanity, right? That's the humanitarian thing we're doing. So anyway, but that and buying mobile home parks, right? So we really talked mobile home parks, man. I've often refer there's two asset classes in the real estate business that I refer to as Bitcoin before Bitcoin existed. Number one is farmland. Number two is mobile home parks, and the reason I put mobile home parks at number two is because only recently, in the last several years, have they became almost, I don't want to say a dying breed, but they're the only asset class that us syndicators and real estate capital raisers and so forth have that is basically a shrinking asset class because of a lot of community guidelines, a lot of, it's like they were like, hey guys, you want to put a mobile home park? Yeah, no, take it somewhere else. And then they would take it somewhere else, and that place would, it got to be where people just didn't want them. And cities didn't want them. They didn't build any codes for them. They didn't do anything. So they became a shrinking asset class. Am I right?
Yes and no. So I would say, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Number one.
Okay.
And there are a lot of people who think what you just said, because I think there have been a lot of people hyping up our asset class.
Okay.
And part of the hype story is you can't build any more mobile home parks. So there is tons of demand for affordable housing and a shrinking supply.
Okay. Right? Now let me back up real quick, because I want to add just a tick of context to what I said before you move forward, because I want you to take what I'm getting ready to tell you and kind of mash it in there. Yes. Okay. Now the reason why, obviously I'm not naive enough to believe that somebody can't go buy a piece of ground and put a mobile home park on it if they want to.
Yeah.
The dividing factor, the one thing that really sticks out to me is the city zoning codes and the sewer, specifically the sewage. They're not allowing mobile home parks to hook onto sewer mains. Again, that could be something false that I've just heard or understood. I know our local community here does not allow them. They allow them if they existed.
Yeah.
But they will not allow you to come in and buy a piece of farm ground, for instance, that's attached to sewer and then attach a mobile home park sewer. That's where they stop.
Yes. So your local market. That is clear. And you're right, that's true. That is true in a lot of cases. So I'll tell you kind of my high-level view on this question of supply and demand is it is true that the vast majority of mobile home parks in America were built back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right, as low-cost housing to house the American population boom after World War II with the GI Bill and all that stuff. So most of the parks you see today have aging infrastructure that's starting to fail and were built 50, 60 years ago. That's true. And it's also true that this is the most stigmatized form of housing in America that exists. Right? When you hear mobile home park, people get all sorts of mental associations. which often are not true. And
Yep.
because it's so stigmatized, you're right that for the last 30, 40 years, most cities and counties don't want to build new parks. And they'll come up
Yep.
with different excuses for why they say, no trailer parks in my backyard. So they might make an argument about the sewer, like you said, and say, hey, we're not going to let mobile homes hook up to our sewer system. If you want to
Yeah.
build it,
You can put it in, but you just can't have sewer.
exactly. Or you've got to build a private septic system or a wastewater treatment.
Well, which in our area is gonna really, what it's gonna do is it's gonna spread it out. You're gonna have, because for a 3-bed, 2-bath, you have to have 25,000 square feet of drainable dirt in order to house a 3-bed, 2-bath home, right? So that's basically a little more than a half an acre, 0.58 to be exact. And so you can have a mobile home on every 0.58 acres, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that must be one way that your county is trying to stop the supply, is trying to stop development of new trailer parks that they don't want, even though this is the biggest and most important form of unsubsidized affordable housing that exists in the United States. So we see a lot of those barriers. Sometimes cities will make a reason around, land use and zoning policy, or they'll have a prohibition against any manufactured homes older than 20 years old, or they'll make an argument around property taxes. There are lots of different reasons that we see why cities have tried to put up barriers to new supply.
Sure.
But all that being said, I don't want your listeners to walk away from this thinking it's impossible to build new mobile home parks, because we're doing it. And some of my competitors,
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, some of my
that's what we want to hear about.
Are doing it, and I think this is such an important piece of the puzzle to provide high quality, attainable housing in the United States. So we're doing it, and we are trying to do it at scale, and we're working with kind of what I would call enlightened cities and counties who understand they've got an affordable housing problem, and they need a private sector partner to come in and help solve it. And the way to solve it is by developing new supply.
Okay. Now, where is that happening?
Most of the new park development that you're seeing in the United States right now is happening in Texas. That's probably more than 50%.
And they have a housing crisis.
Exactly. Lots of population growth, right? Housing prices are through the roof. They need new supply. And developer-friendly land use laws that allow you to build, particularly if you're outside city limits in the county or in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. Sure. So most of the new supply is happening in Texas, but we are building a new park in Bozeman, Montana, and we've got projects in the pipeline in Washington, in Idaho, in Texas, in South Carolina. And I know of peers of mine who are developing parks on a smaller scale in, Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. So it's happening.
Now tell us, so I'm just going to pick one, Idaho.
Yeah.
How many spots is that park?
Okay, so this is an interesting case study. And actually, I'd rather give Bozeman, Montana as the case study, and then I'll tell you what's going on in Idaho. Okay. So Bozeman, Montana is the best case study for us. So first of all, market context. If your listeners hear about Montana, they might have an idea that it's, sleepy with a lot of cows. And actually, if you've been to Bozeman any time in the past few years, you'll see that Bozeman is a very high growth, hot market.
Yeah, they got good skiing too.
They've got killer skiing, fly fishing, mountain biking. They've got a university, cool breweries, coffee shops. So you've got tons of people moving there for quality of life, especially during the pandemic. And in the past 2 years, the median home price has gone from $400,000 up to $700,000. In a 3-year period, housing prices have almost doubled.
Wow.
So normal folks there can't afford a place to live, right? If you're a teacher or a nurse, firefighter, ski instructor, server in a restaurant, you can't pay $700,000 for a house. So we bought 90 acres of farmland from the Dykstra family. We've been farming it for the past, 70 years. We are developing a new 254 unit manufactured housing community. It's going to be Class A. Right. So whatever vision you have in your mind of a trailer park, throw it out the window. This is a land lease community with, it's going to look like a subdivision. Beautiful clubhouse, dog park, walking trails, nice wide asphalt roads, concrete sidewalks, beautiful homes with attached garages. And we'll be selling those for anywhere from $199,000 to roughly $300,000, which is really affordable in this market. And our resident will own the home, and they'll rent the land, and they'll pay us a monthly lot rent payment, which we're going to call a community fee. So, that's what we're doing successfully. Idaho, the community shot us down. They said, not in my backyard, and we're still working through that project to understand exactly what the density will be and how we're going to make it happen.
Wow. Okay. I like the idea. Now, as my wife, if she was here, she would say she lives with the world's biggest devil's advocate. So just as I ask questions, please don't accept anything as an attack. I merely am just like, okay, great. What about this? Cool. All right. What about this? And in the sales world, we call those objections. And when you're selling, you ought to be able to crush them, right? So my first question is, all of that sounds wonderful. And my years in the real estate sales business automatically has my mind jumping to, okay, great. How do they finance the damn things? Yes. And then number two, wonderful. It's going to be badass subdivisions. That's all. I mean, everything about the things that you just told me is great. Then I start thinking, okay, 10 years from now, John next door's underpinning is blown out and he's just said to hell with it. That's the kind of stuff that I guess leads people down the path of saying, hey, listen, this isn't our first time. This isn't our first time trying what you're talking about. And every time somebody's done it, it's been wonderful. It's been great. It's been life-changing until it's not. And that's where,
yeah. Okay.
So that's where I want you those are the objections I want you to sell.
Thank you.
Sell it to me.
Thank you for raising the objections, because it gives me the opportunity to educate folks and tell the truth about our product.
And that's what we're here for. Yeah. And again, like I said, I'm not looking at investing nor buying one. I want to know for the listener out there that says, hey, I like Daniel's model. I think I want to call him up because I'm looking to place some capital, and whatever the case is, that's who I want you to talk to about trying to walk them through those same objections.
Yeah. Or more than talking to the investor, how about talking to the potential resident in our community who they've saved up 50 grand by working hard and, saving every paycheck, and they're deciding they want to buy a home in my community. And I've got to educate them on what this is like and why they should make an investment to buy a home. So let me address your two objections, and I'll address them in reverse order. So First of all, you asked, what happens 10 years down the road? A lot of people think mobile homes are going to depreciate just like a car when you drive it off the lot. Is it going to hold its value? And the truth is, a contemporary manufactured home located in a high quality community appreciates like real estate.
Okay.
And I'm saying that slowly to let it sink in, because it's counterintuitive for a lot of folks, but it is true, and we see it every day in our business. Let me give an example. Let me explain why. Here's an example.
Okay.
We own a community called Emerald Coast Estates on the Oregon coast, roughly 130 unit mobile home park. Really nice community. It's got a pool. It's got a clubhouse. It's even got ocean views. All double wide homes, nice lots, garages, driveways. Looks really nice. That community was built in the 1990s. New double wide homes in that park originally sold for around $120,000 or $130,000. Today, today, when they get resold, if a tenant moves out or they need to go to an old age home, they're selling their home. That home will sell for $300,000. Manufactured home. Wow. No land. Just an
How much is the lot? How much is the lot rent on that home?
Roughly $850 a month.
And who's financing it?
there is a robust market of banks that will do loans on manufactured homes in parks. We work with 3 or 4 of them on a national basis, which is 21st
Okay.
Mortgage, Triad, Credit Human, and Cascade. Warren Buffett, really smart investor. His company, Berkshire Hathaway, is the owner of the biggest company in the space, which is called 21st Mortgage. And there are
Yeah.
also local banks and credit unions who will finance homes in parks.
He owns Fleetwood too, doesn't he? Or owns
Cool. Yeah,
a big
you got
percentage of it.
exactly. He owns Clayton Homes.
Or Clayton
He owns a
Homes, yeah.
manufacturer, and he owns a dealership network, and he owns a financing arm. All of the above.
So, and that's, yeah, talk about a funnel. Jeez.
Exactly. So we also, we in our business, we're vertically integrated. So we're buying mobile home parks. We're improving the parks. We also run a mobile home dealership to bring new homes into the park to upgrade the real estate. We sell the homes to the end customer. And we also operate a private equity shop, right? Taking investor money in and giving distributions out to investors.
Wow. Okay. Now, okay. So let's $850 a month for that mobile home parks lot.
Yeah.
Ocean view.
Yeah.
Nice community,
Yeah.
use of assets, pool,
Exactly.
dog park, so on.
Don't forget the koi pond.
Assuming,
There's even a community koi pond.
awesome.
Yeah.
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 And now the other question here that I've had now, because from the real estate again, and as my listeners are well aware of, I bring my accumulated knowledge of real estate sales and so on into this as
Yeah.
well. So initially, and I know that mobile home parks, there was, and maybe this isn't true, but something tells me that when you start looking at the protected classes of people when it comes to fair housing,
Yes.
um, mobile home parks seemed like they were an outlier of being able to say, hey, we want everybody that lives or resides in this community. It's a 50 plus community or a 60 plus community. And it seemed like they were an outlier of one of the only places you could say you could almost discriminate upon age was if everybody in the home or in the park was above a certain age. Like there was absolutely zero ability to waver off of that simply because of the fair housing. Am I right? Now, with that being said, do any of your parks or these parks that we've been discussing fall under that? Are they like, I have to be careful because my dad, I guess, is legally a senior citizen of this great country. So I don't, I'm going to call them senior. Hell with it. Senior citizens of over a certain age, dad will just have to deal with it. But do any of them fall under that classification? And if so, how are those waters any worse to navigate?
So you're correct. Some mobile home parks are considered 55 and up parks, or you could call them age restricted communities. And you've got a really good insight here for your viewers who aren't familiar with this. Every housing provider in the U.S. under federal law is required to comply with the U.S. Fair Housing Act, which I think was passed either in the late 60s or the early 1970s.
Yeah, and a very useful policy. I don't know of anybody that has an issue with it.
Of course.
Because it keeps. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, as you were saying, it prevents discrimination in housing, which is good for our democracy.
Sure.
Yeah. And so the basic idea is you can't discriminate on the basis of age or gender or national origin or source of income or all sorts of stuff. But Casey, as you're correctly pointing out, if a housing provider isn't supposed to discriminate on the basis of age, how can you operate an age-restricted community where you turn down people because, hey, you're 35 years old and you've got kids? How is that legal?
Yeah.
So as you're correctly pointing out, there is a special carve-out for age-restricted communities. You can't do a race-restricted community, that's illegal, or a religion-restricted community, that's illegal, but you are allowed to do an age-restricted community because the government recognizes that, it is socially good for people of a certain age demographic to live together. They can have peers. It makes sense for them. They can support each other, and it makes sense. So we do operate several age restricted communities. And you asked if it's more difficult waters versus all ages communities. And the answer is we love them both. We love them both, and they're very different. Our age restricted communities, I mean, if I look at a mobile home park on Google Maps from up above, I can tell you right off the bat, is it all ages or age restricted? Just from an aerial photo. I can tell based on how people are keeping up their lawns, what kind of cars they're operating. In the age restricted community, they tend to look really nice. You've got mostly a lot of folks who are retired, who take a lot of pride in their garden, and that's kind of their life in a lot of cases, their community around them. And they don't have, they're not working 40, 50, 60 hours a week anymore. So they can do that. Those same customers expect a higher level of service. They're the ones knocking on the park manager's door, right? Expecting a high level of service, which they deserve. So they're just different.
Well, and that was where, and to me, if you have a population of those folks, that I think is the difference in saying, hey, I'm going to put a mobile home park here, and hey, I'm going to put a trailer park here. It is that very finite, that very defined line.
So can I push back on that?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm from a perspective. I'm looking at it from the public's perspective and a potential investor's perspective of saying, hey, how can you make my money grow with this? So absolutely push back.
I hear you. The 55 plus park is going to look nice, and it's going to be an easier sell to a community to get a new park approved.
Sure.
But it's my mission to beat down and push back the idea that an all ages community is going to look like a trailer park, and we don't want that here. Right.
Yep.
And we can develop very nice new manufactured housing communities serving working families with kids. And we can provide a super high quality product that is safe and attractive and affordable. And I think our communities need a lot more of that too. And we don't look, let's say you plant, you plant a field of corn and you never come back, you let it, and you never look at it. It's going to go to seed, it's going to run wild, and there's going to be weeds all over it, and you're not going to get a good harvest.
That's right.
But if we create an all ages community and we manage it to a high standard, we educate our residents, we're there on site, teaching them about what our expectations are to maintain a nice community, which ultimately raises the value of their home, then all parties benefit. The resident benefits, their home value goes up, our investors benefit, and the community benefits by having a new affordable community.
Awesome. And now when we start talking about, and I think ultimately at the end of the day, the demographic of the area you're in, whether senior citizens or a lot of times people look at median income being the what you're going to do. And if you have a spot where you have to own the mobile home and you're just leasing the land, that is also a different story. There's a difference in pride and ownership, whether it's senior citizens or whether it's young people or whatever, they have kids, whatever. I think the ones that really give, like, it's the haymaker left hand swing that give the industry the black eye. I mean, gives two black eyes for that matter, is the communities that are the mobile home lots, and then the investors or the ownership buys the mobile homes, puts them there, and simply makes them rentals. That's the ones I think that really create an issue for most people. A lot of times, because then you're going to be offering efficient living at an attractable rent rate, which is typically going to bunch.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cashflow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
I'm trying to be mindful about how I say this, because I don't want it to sound like I'm being ugly about it, but it puts a lot of people in one spot in that same demographic of your area, and it tends to be the bottom. And so, am I right in that thinking? Am I wrong in that thinking that the purely rental mobile home parks seem to be where the issue arises, and it gives the entire industry, the entire arm of that housing industry, two black eyes?
Well, there is a real debate in our industry between park owners who prefer a resident-owned home model versus park owners who go with the park-owned home model, which is what you're referring to.
Correct.
And
yes,
that is a real strategic choice and an operational choice that park owners have to make. And I will tell you, this isn't true 100% of the time, but generally speaking, we strongly prefer a resident-owned home model.
I think it changes the whole persona. I think it changes the whole vision of the whole thing.
It's a different product. We've got residents who are homeowners. They've got skin in the game. They've got pride of ownership in the park. They stay for a long time.
And the skin in the game, is really the difference.
And they build wealth because, as I said, a manufactured home in a well-managed park appreciates over time. So it's totally different. You're talking about a home ownership product versus a rental product. Different mindset, very different product. And we strongly prefer resident-owned homes.
Well, and I can attest, like first person attest, that this is the truth. I would get people, when I had several single family rentals that I owned myself. I had a couple mobile homes, right? And people would move here, military. 99% of the people that moved here that I dealt with were military.
Can you clarify that? You owned mobile homes as rental units.
People would call.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Casey, can you just clarify? You owned mobile homes as rental units. Were those located in a mobile home park?
No. Well, they were. I owned the ground underneath it. They were basically a subdivision.
Okay.
They were basically a subdivision where, rather than the owner building a home on it, they just moved mobile homes in. Right.
Okay. Got it.
And so, I would have people that would move here. Military folks would move here, and they would call. Of course, my number was splashed everywhere for the sales and whatever, wanting to know if I had any rentals. And I'd say, yeah. And I can tell you this happened on multiple occasions. This wasn't just a one-off deal. I would call and say, yeah, I have a really nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath home built over here. And they would automatically say, is it a mobile home? And I'd say, no, it's not. It's a stick-built home. Pretty, the areas, this school zone, whatever, right? And they'd say, no, I want a mobile home. Click. That was the end of the discussion.
Why?
So I had to reverse my way of thinking and say, when these people ask, is it a mobile home, that they're actually in preference of a mobile home, right? Over no, I have this stick-built house, same rent, same square footage, same everything. Nope, I want a mobile home. Click. I'm like, and I had to stop one day, and I was like, is this real life? Like, these people will not live anywhere except for a mobile home.
Why, Casey? What was the motive?
I don't know. I never could figure that out.
What's your hypothesis?
My hypothesis is that's where they came from. They came from a community of mobile home folks, not good, bad, indifferent. I'm not talking demographic. I'm not putting anybody under not talking down at anybody. I'm saying that that's where they came from, that type of a community, and that was the preference of what they wanted to go back to. And again, then, so I'm walking through this as we're live on this episode, or not live, but as this episode's being recorded, I'm walking through this in my mind thinking, okay, the more you talk about it, and then I start comparatively saying, okay, this is my experience. And when I would deal with folks who would say, no, is it a mobile home? Nope, it's not. It's a stick-built house in a nice neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. All right, nope, I want a mobile home. Click. When I'm talking about those people, I'm talking about community. And that's the same thing you're saying is community. That's where the value resides.
Interesting. So I think community is one big driver. And so I think that might be one thing. I think another thing is quality of the home. So manufactured homes today are built under the federal HUD code that was passed in 1976.
Yeah.
The quality control is done in the factory. They're built to modern safety standards. There's all sorts of standards that make your typical home rolling out of a factory today much nicer than a 1950s, 1960s, 1970s site-built home that's been depreciating over the last 50 or 60 years.
Sure,
so that might be another driver.
It was very interesting to me, and again, I think the more I'm just sitting here contemplating this whole idea, it's the idea of community, and it's almost even to a psychological degree saying these are people like me. Okay. If I'm there it's not the fact that it is a mobile home. It's the fact that mobile home likely resides amongst other mobile homes. And these are people like me.
So I think you're right. I think it's something everybody wants.
That's right.
Right.
So yeah, it's not a bad thing.
We have mobile home parks that serve a lot of different demographics, and you're right. They tend to cluster. So we have certain parks which are majority 55 and up, right? People, they like being in a community of people like me, right? Whether or not those are folks who ever lived in a manufactured home before. A lot of those folks are retired baby boomers who sold the single family house and are downsizing into a manufactured home. And they love going to community with like-minded folks. We have some parks which are 100% Spanish speaking, right? This is not a fair housing violation. I'm making a factual observation. Certain of our communities are 100% Spanish speaking. When I go there, I speak in Spanish with all of the residents. And right, that's community. And we see strong community ties. And, a family will move in and they'll invite their cousin or their friend or mom or dad or uncle to, buy a house a few rows down. You have incredibly strong, rich community ties, events, celebrations, and a social safety network, helping each other out. If someone gets sick or someone can't work that week or you need babysitting, right? A lot of community strength.
Yeah. And it's much of what this country is missing to begin with. And I realize that amongst the Amish communities here where we live, same difference. I mean, it's the Social Security network. That's Social Security. It's the security of that social spot. So, all right, listen, Daniel, we are running out of time here. So, with that being said, I've got a couple of questions that we ask every guest that comes on the show, and first of those.
Oh no! Okay, I'm ready.
Bing! Yeah, I don't have the Fairless thunder sounds or anything. But the first of those questions being, what is the best book that you have recently read or are currently reading?
None.
Okay,
I'm not currently reading any book. And I'm saying that in order to excuse all the people out there and make them feel comfortable who aren't doing lots of active self-improvement. Okay.
Hey man, you're with your kids. You're in an Airbnb. Where are you at? Northern California. I mean,
yeah, life is hard. It's really hard to run your business and take care of your family and eat right and exercise and read books and improve yourself and get close to spirituality. Something's got to drop. I'm not reading anything right now. I'm just trying to make it happen, man.
I got you, dude. No, hey, there's no shame in that. But then tell us, what is a dream vacation that you have either taken or hope to take?
I spent 2 weeks in the jungle in Indonesia and in the island of Papua. I speak Indonesian. I was there bird watching and looking for rare animals, and I was in heaven.
Did you wear one of those hats, like a
yeah, kind of like that. Not like a colonial pith helmet, but like there was some mosquito netting involved.
Oh wow! It comes down to your shoulders, and like you could keep the bugs away. Oh my god! I was not expecting mosquito netting. This whole episode just took a complete different turn. Now we could do the next 30 minutes is going to be about mosquito netting, which pretty cool. Pretty cool. Maybe you should wear those around the parks when you go look.
Maybe I should wear them on podcasts so people will remember me as the mosquito netting.
Next time, number 2, episode 2, coming soon. So, all right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for the time that you have taken to be out of whatever it was you were doing and spend it with us, telling us about mobile home parks, mobile home park investing, and the like. So I feel like we took down a lot of potential issues that people could have with those, especially when somebody's an investor and they're looking for something that's a decent return, that's a safe return, and that is going to actively grow, something that can actively grow. Because again, we do all have, if you're involved in real estate at all, we all have that simple thought that, mobile home parks are Bitcoin because they're going negative in units and up in value. So, but with that being said, I want to, listeners, if you like what you listened to today, please head down and leave us a 5-star review and also type a review so that other listeners may know what we talk about here and what you learned from the Cashflow Pro. And as always, please punch, smash, hit, elbow, eye, ear, whatever it takes, that subscribe button so that you may be notified when new episodes are available for you to download and listen to. And I want to thank everybody again, Daniel, you especially, for your time today. And listeners, thank you for taking the time to spend with us. I appreciate it.
Cashflow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.